Hey guys, Gendry, talented blacksmith and bastard of King Robert Baratheon, finally reappeared in the show and immediately became part of the Great War, joining Jon Snow in his fight against the Army of the Dead. Fans have been theorizing that Gendry's sudden reappearance in Season 7 might have something to do with the fact that Gendry's particular set of skills could be helpful if they ever worked out how to forge more Valyrian steel swords. More importantly, some fans have viewed Gendry being back on the scene as a sign that his father promised to Ned Stark in Season 1 might finally be fulfilled. Remember, back in the very first episode in the Winterfell crypt, Robert Baratheon expressed his desire that his son should marry Ned's daughter to align their houses forever.
We were meant to rule together. If your sister had lived, would have been bound by blood. Well, it's not too late. I have a son, you have a daughter. We'll join our houses.
Robert was talking about Joffrey, who he thought was his son, and Ned's daughter Sansa. This never happened, and therefore House Stark and House Baratheon haven't been joined yet. However, a huge amount of fans think that this marriage might finally happen in the form of Robert's only son Gendry and Ned's daughter Arya. Arya and Gendry formed a special bond way back when they were traveling north on the King's Road together. There's one memorable scene that Arya and Gendry shared that might have foreshadowed that those two could become family one day. Let's take a look.
I've served men my entire life. I served Master Mott at King's Landing, and he sold me to the Watch. I served Lord Tywin at Harrenhal, wondering every day if I'd get tortured or killed. I'm done serving.
You just said you were serving Lord Beric.
He may be their leader, but they chose him. These men are brothers. They're a family. I've never had a family.
I can be your family.
You wouldn't be my family. You'd be my lady.
Gendry back then believed that him and Arya could never be together, considering that she is a highborn daughter of Lord Eddard Stark, while he on the other hand is just a bastard son of a random man, or at least that's what he thought he was back then. Gendry later found out who his father truly is, King Robert Baratheon. Having in mind that Arya is in Winterfell while Gendry on the other hand is heading towards it with Jon Snow and Daenerys Targaryen, those two will most certainly reunite in the very first episode of the final season. While many fans believe Arya and Gendry will end up together, many fans are also convinced that Arya would never settle down and have children, and I understand them. After all, that's what Arya said herself regarding her future.
Can I be Lord of the Holdfast?
You will marry a High Lord and rule this castle. And your sons shall be knights and princes and lords.
No. That's not me.
However, what we also need to understand is that Game of Thrones is full of irony. We thought Ned Stark was way too honorable to die, but then he did. You wear your honor like a suit of armor, Stark, is what Littlefinger said to Ned. Sansa was a proper lady who wanted to marry a prince and have many children. We know what happened to those dreams. A marriage. Her throat tightened. She did not want to wed again, not now, perhaps not ever. Sansa's thoughts in a feast for crows. Robb thought bread and salt will protect him from Walder Frey. We all know how that ended. Once you have eaten of his bread and salt, you have the guest right, and the laws of hospitality protect you beneath his roof. Catelyn said Robb in A Clash of Kings. We thought Khal Drogo would sail across the narrow sea and win the Iron Throne for his wife Daenerys, and yet he ended up dying before even sailing to Westeros. And to my son, the stallion who will mount the world, I will also pledge a gift to him. I will give this iron chair his mother's father sat upon. I will give him 7 kingdoms. I, Drogo, will do this, said Khal Drogo to Daenerys. Jaime said he would rather prefer a clean death than being alive as a cripple, only to later become one and continue with his life. Anyways, the point is that Arya never wanted to be a lady, while her sister Sansa always dreamed of marrying a handsome young man, giving him children and living a happy life. Wouldn't it be kind of ironic seeing Arya, a girl who never wanted any of that, getting what Sansa always wanted? We all expect Arya to either die in a battle or to live out her days as an assassin adventurer, and that's why neither of that will happen. It would be too obvious. Her getting a happy ending and living her life as a proper lady she never wanted to be will be a huge twist for her. Arya is a highly trained assassin with a thirst for vengeance. However, at this point Arya already avenged her family, and when the war is over and the White Walkers are defeated, I think that Arya will get the life that Sansa used to dream of, and ironically, Arya will enjoy that life. Arya will most likely end up marrying Gendry and live out her days raising their children in a castle. I have a son, you have a daughter, we'll join our houses is the quote that has always been on my mind. Obviously, back then Robert was implying that Sansa and Joffrey should wed, but we all know how it all worked out for them. However, this in my opinion foreshadows Gendry and Arya joining Baratheon and Stark houses once and for all. Some fans even claim that George R. R. Martin and showrunners thought of Arya and Gendry while writing this particular scene, considering how they love to twist words around. Arya resembles her aunt Lyanna Stark. Gendry, on the other hand, appears to resemble his father. In other words, their union can symbolize Lyanna and Robert's relationship, and this time it's not one-sided love. As we all know, Robert was promised to Lyanna, but it didn't work out. However, Robert's son fulfilling the promise made years ago between House Stark and House Baratheon seems fitting. Arya does have feelings for Gendry, which was made clear when she told him that he can be her family. Also, there could be some clues regarding this marriage in the first meeting between Gendry and Jon. Let's take a look on that scene.
Your Grace, this is
It's Gendry, Your Grace. I'm Robert Baratheon's son. Bastard son.
He was meant to keep that to himself.
Our fathers trusted each other. Why shouldn't we?
I saw your father once at Winterfell.
I met yours. In my shop.
You're a lot leaner.
You're a lot shorter.
Now let's take a look on this scene that took place in the very first episode.
Your Grace.
You got fat.
It's quite obvious how interaction between Gendry and Jon is similar to one Robert and Ned had. Even Davos reminds me of Jon Arryn taking Gendry and Jon under his caring wing, just like Lord Arryn did Robert and Ned. Also, Robert was in love with Ned's sister Lyanna, just like Gendry is with Jon's sister Arya, so I'm sure you can see the parallel. Now that Arya has finally returned to Winterfell and Gendry on the other hand has not only returned to the show but is also heading to Winterfell, it just seems they are meant to end up together. I can definitely see them living their days out peacefully in Storm's End with their children. I'm sure most of you are wondering how they could live in a castle that belongs to House Baratheon, considering that Gendry is a bastard son and therefore he's not allowed to inherit his father's lands or titles. Well, there are two possibilities. One is that Gendry is true-born son of Robert Baratheon, as there's a theory in which his mother is actually Cersei Lannister, and the second possibility is him simply getting legitimized by Jon or Daenerys. Gendry is a bastard son of the late King Robert Baratheon, and with no living Baratheons left in the show, he will most likely be legitimized by Dany if he agrees to bend the knee and swear his loyalty to her, which Gendry will most likely do. I believe that Gendry will be legitimized, which strategically makes sense to do so, as it will unite the Stormlands to the cause of Daenerys. I understand that there are some of you thinking that Dany legitimizing Gendry would make no sense. Some of you think that she would be creating a potential rival for the Iron Throne, and even if Gendry personally is not a threat, some of you think he could either marry an ambitious woman or have an ambitious child. Well, Dany's statements say otherwise.
And I ask you not to judge a daughter by the sins of her father.
Dany, as well as Jon Snow, stated multiple times throughout the season 7 that a child should not be guilty for their father's sins and doings. If Dany allowed Tyrion, whose father did more crimes to House Targaryen than Robert did, to become her most trusted advisor, I don't see why Daenerys wouldn't legitimize Gendry if he would bend the knee and swear his loyalty to her. Anyways, becoming Lord Baratheon, Gendry would inherit Storm's End and Arya will most likely be his lady. While Ned was killed in season 1, which sets off the events for the show, I cannot help but think that Ned did foreshadow this marriage when he told Arya that she will marry a High Lord and rule his castle. This marriage has also been foreshadowed by Jaime Lannister. In the books, while having a conversation regarding the Starks with Hoster, Jaime might have foreshadowed a marriage between Gendry and Arya. Is that why you killed all the Starks? Hoster asked Jaime. Not at all, said Jaime. Lord Eddard's daughters live. One has just been wed. The other, if the gods are good, she'll forget she was a Stark. She'll wed some burly blacksmith. Just as Robert wanted back in the first season, the houses Baratheon and Stark will probably join through his son and Ned's daughter, just not through the ones he and Ned thought. And as always, let me know your opinion about all of this in the comment section down below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to subscribe to our channel and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.